All right, what's up? Good evening, everybody. Dr. Jeff Moore here, currently serving as the CEO of ICE. Here with an exciting announcement. Been waiting to drop this one on you all for quite a while now. We always think it's our responsibility to be trying to look at where the emerging markets are in physio, in the rehab sciences period, and look at not only where the emerging markets are, but the ones that are the most meaningful. The ones where we really think that we can get into a space that really dramatically affects the overall health of the public. We're hearing so much about people getting better access to physio, and when they get there earlier, things go better, but we're all aware of so many barriers that precede that. And because of that, we are beside ourselves excited to be announcing that we are getting into the telehealth space. So we are going to bring on the one and only Rob Vining, who has designed an 8-week online course with us, Telehealth Building Your Digital Practice. So we are going to leverage Rob's incredible expertise. Anybody who's tracking this space knows that Rob's been, really the preeminent leader here for the better part of a decade, nudging forward not only our profession, our actual clinicians, but our professional organizations, playing a huge role at the state level and state legislature in really giving guidance and educating pretty much everybody in this sphere on how to best move forward in this space. So I'm going to see if I can actually get Rob to jump on here. I'm going to add Rob in. I think he's out there in the audience. Give it 1 second there.
Got it,
Rob,
man.
what's
Can you
up?
hear me okay?
Yeah,
What's
man.
happening, buddy?
Dude, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm great, man. I'm just, I'm happy that this worked. Of course, announcing it never fails to happen. Anytime I announce a tech course or anything technically related, there's technical difficulty immediately. So it's
There's
just,
got to be. It only makes sense.
right, exactly. It's like it's testing you. It's like, if you don't know how to do this, then you can't announce it to anybody. It's like, all right, we'll get around the technical issues and we'll get there.
Dude,
So,
that's
man,
great.
I'm pumped.
Well, Rob, dude, we're pumped too, man. Do you mind just taking a few minutes? I mean, for those, I'm assuming the vast majority of our followers are well aware of what you're doing and what you've done in this space. But just in case there's some stragglers out there, do you mind spending a few minutes kind of giving some of your background, how you wound up here, and then we'll talk about the course.
Yeah, definitely. So this is my 15th year as a PT since I graduated back in late 2004. Started doing telehealth right away. So I started the world's first physical therapy clinic that was actually just a digital practice called Direct PT, and that was back at the beginning of 2005. Started seeing patients that way. Got super lucky on basically Google rankings because I typed in online physical therapy in my title bar, so I got way up there, and then started seeing patients on boats and yachts because a lot of people offshore were literally typing online physical therapy, finding me on Google, requesting access, paying me through PayPal, and then it was like law of the sea, right? So there was no precedent of that at all. So I was seeing people a lot on boats and yachts. They didn't want to come into shore. I'd see them, get them better in a few visits. They'd pay me, like I said, cash pay. It was great. It was awesome. So I did that for a little bit, and then pretty much after about 2.5, 3 years, Google tanked my rankings because I woke up one day and my, number 1 through number 3 search result for online physical therapy turned into page 12. And
Okay.
so at that point, I kind of figured, all right, we're going to have to reschedule and kind of redo this whole thing. So I would see patients as I was working in the outpatient facility, worked in different outpatient clinics, managed outpatient clinics. And I would always keep it as an option for patients that had to drive, an hour, 2 hours away. And I'd say, look, we can do this another way. I know that you're having a tough time getting here. I don't want you to drop off. So let's just do it this way. So all that wrapped up probably about 5, 6 years ago, started working more in the software space. And then just rebooted PT Live, which is basically a software that I co-founded, and then just got all into the telehealth space because I really saw that that's where everything was trending and going. And so started really putting the pedal to the floor, I'd say in 2017,
Okay.
even more so, just letting everybody know that this is how it is. I don't care what you think of me. I'm going to teach everybody how to do this. And then, just getting in with ICE, I couldn't be happier. There's nobody else that I'd rather teach courses with and teach and educate our field with than through ICE because of the quality that you guys have already, man.
Well, dude, I really appreciate that, man. So the thing I want you to talk a bit about, Rob, because I think as usual, we're underappreciating the opportunities that we have. I think sometimes
Yeah.
we just don't see the forest for the trees. Can you speak a bit to, why you've gotten this bug? I mean, why are you pushing for telehealth for PTs? What do you see out there opportunity wise compared to other professions? I mean, talk a bit about the actual opportunity.
Yeah, I think the big thing that a lot of people miss is that we actually have the most time that we can spend with patients. So there are clinics out there that are doing, the 2 to 4 patients per hour, and that's rough. And
Yeah,
it's kind of doing a disservice to not only the patients, but also the development of the physical therapists that are just coming out of school because they don't really get to dig and dive in like I did when I was coming out of school 15 years ago.
yep,
And so I think getting back to our roots and being able to actually have that one-on-one environment where everything's quiet, it's just you and the patient, and you really have to listen to the patient because you can't, like I say a lot, you can't put them on a total gym, set the timer, and walk away. You can't
right,
do that with them. So it's with all this and the opportunity, it's not even a question of if, it's pretty much a question of when. And when it comes down to that question of when, it's when is your competition going to employ this, just like Athletico is already starting to do.
yeah,
So when we see huge opportunities and huge companies like Athletico taking the bull by the horns, we have to do that as either individual providers or small clinic groups or medium-sized clinic groups and build that up to where all of us kind of rise together to where we get that original reason we got into the field, which is that patient interaction and being able to take times with patients and do the
yeah.
best of our ability with that time that we have.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was thrilled to see that Atletico announcement because I thought, man, that's going to normalize it. You get a big
Yeah,
group out there doing it at higher volume, all of a sudden it doesn't sound crazy. So I was pumped
yeah.
when I saw that a while back. Rob, are we seeing, where are we relative to other professions? I mean, where are we relative to medicine and nursing? I mean, is this more normal in those spaces compared to where we are in our infancy?
Yeah, it is. And I think the big part is that most PTs are looking at, and understandably so, the return on investment. So number one, a
Yep.
lot of PTs are not really comfortable with technology in general. And when it comes to, utilizing telehealth or any sort of live video interaction, a lot of PTs, my joke is always like you say HIPAA in a crowd of 100 PTs and 96 duck under a table immediately because everyone is so scared and fearful that they're going to get in trouble. And it's just a little bit of knowledge and guidance to get people set up and to not be afraid of it. And then the patients are ready, like they're there chomping at the
Yeah.
bit. Like if you ask a handful of patients, you're gonna get out of maybe you ask 10, 2 or 3 are gonna go, yeah, I would love a telehealth option for physical therapy. I know that you have all the knowledge in your head and that the answers not only lie in your head, but you can teach me and educate me how to fix myself to where I'm gonna actually take an active part in my care.
Yep.
So that's where it's one of those things where once we take a 30,000-foot view and we see the writing on the wall to where we have to kind of get back to first principles of getting the patients better as fast as possible. That's the number
Yep.
one thing. And what
Yep.
it's going to take is basically time and attention to detail of where patients are and what they want. So I think this can help us a bunch.
Absolutely. Rob, let's stay on that topic for a second of barriers because that's what I'm hearing thrown back all the time is like, well, it's not legal. You can't do it in
Yeah,
most
yeah.
states. You've got to be HIPAA compliant. The technology is really hard for the patient. My patients are older. They
Right,
won't be able to do it. I mean, is it really
right.
this hard? What are we up
Yeah.
against? Can you speak to that a bit?
Yeah, the big thing about people thinking that it's illegal is that most states just don't have anything in place that spells it out in black and white.
Mhm.
So you have certain states that do. You have the complete outlier that's on the opposite end of the spectrum, which is Delaware, which says you cannot treat a patient via telehealth physical therapy for an eval. You can't see them for a reassessment or a discharge. But even Delaware says, yeah, you can see them for visits in between that. It's fine. So the rest of the states, and the biggest issue is that most of these states don't have anything written in black and white. When they don't have anything written, they're not saying you cannot do it. It's just a distribution model, which they don't even think about because they seriously just will point people to their Practice Act and say, look, just follow these same guidelines. It's the same. Like even North Carolina came out, I guess it was last November, and in their, I think it was a newsletter they sent out to all PTs in the state of North Carolina said, look, we keep getting these questions about telehealth. Just follow your Practice Act, guys. It's no different. Just do that and you're
Yeah.
okay. And everything when it comes to HIPAA compliance, there's just a couple of steps to take.
Yep.
And there's a little difference between the cash pay and those that are getting reimbursed through insurance, but
Sure.
it's not a no-brainer. And even the cost, there are certain software platforms that can provide HIPAA compliant software platforms that are just as cheap as the other ones.
Yeah.
So it's just a little bit of knowledge, man. That's it.
Well, cool, man. Well, I can't wait to have you walk through all that in the course so folks can finally put that behind them, and not have
Hmm.
those question marks. The other big
Right.
one, Rob, is licensing. And the way that I understand it is you've got to carry a license in the area the patient currently is while they're doing the visit. Can you
Yeah.
speak a bit? A lot of folks might not know what the PT Compact is. Can you
Right.
talk about how that's kind of come about, where that's going, and how that's relevant to kind of why this space is getting so exciting?
Yeah, yeah. So the PT Compact came about, I guess it was in 2017, early 2018, with all of the different states that decided to band together. Right now, I believe there is, I might be saying it wrong. I think there's 16
It sounds
different
close because
states.
Washington just came on, right, a couple weeks
Yeah,
ago.
that's right. Yep,
Yep.
yep. So you've got about 16 states where they're in a compact that says that they will allow you to get a license, and it's not a true license where you could just move there tomorrow and actually practice, but it's a license that will let you see patients in their state so that you can act just like a normal PT license in that state. You just can't open a business there.
Got
That's
it.
the big thing. You would have to get a regular, real license going through the regular steps. But the PT Compact allows for those people in those 16 states to actually apply for a license. The price is a little bit different depending on what state it is. The base layer price is 45 bucks per state, and then some states are like free. I think Arizona is free, and then you've got states like Mississippi was like $150 on top of that. But
Yep.
still, it's a process where you can, in a couple hours, get a license in another state. So you have to be licensed where the patient is physically located. That is the biggest thing that a lot of people question.
Yep.
And here's the secondary part where everybody says, well, what if this? If your patient goes on vacation and you're in a state where you're licensed and they're physically located in a state you are not licensed in, because they're physically located in a state you're not licensed in, you cannot see them. So that is kind of the rules that the FSBPT has put out that everybody has to follow and that I push. I don't agree with it. I think it's goofy,
Sure.
but it's the laws we have and we got to work with them.
Yeah.
So until that changes, everybody just needs to know that little bit of information. And like I said, the compact kind of opens up the world because if you're in one of those compact states, you can have access to all of Texas. You can have access to all of Washington, Oregon, let's see, Utah, Arizona. There's a ton of
Yep.
states,
North
and you can go to
Carolina,
PT.
Tennessee. I
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I'm in Colorado, so I'm in the compact, and
yeah, man.
again, we'll cover the details in the course, but it really is pretty easy. I mean, I've accumulated all of those licenses you just mentioned because I'm going to be doing a
Right.
lot of telehealth with Onward. But like you said,
Yep.
man, you're a jurisprudence test in some few small steps from getting dialed in across all these states.
Right. Yeah. And it's really worth it when you think about the reach that you'll actually have in just a few simple marketing steps, and you can get access to all these different patients. So it's fun, man. I can't wait
I,
to teach everybody about this.
Dude, I just think it's so cool, man, that, so many folks have done a great job on social media, making the nation in many cases aware of who they are and what they do, but they've never been able
Yeah.
to really leverage that. I mean, you can sell them
Right.
products and stuff. I mean, but now you're looking at a whole different way of leveraging that time you put in to be
Yep.
able to say, look, and by the way, I can actually in a very real way see you and walk you through this and use my expertise.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And there's just a few marketing tips that you need to know that might be an hour or two of your time per month, and it
Yep.
can pay back massive benefits and start that flywheel that I always talk about, getting patients in your door. You do something successful with a patient through a telehealth visit, they're going to share that with other people because it's not geographically limited. They could have family 200 miles away, and they're going to be able to say, hey, you're in this same state. I saw Jeff. Go see Jeff. Here's how you do it. And then you got a new patient. Why? Word of mouth.
Yeah.
So it all flows nicely together, man, for another revenue stream for clinics that might be struggling or people that want to start a solo practice. You got it. It's all right at your fingertips.
I love it, man. And what you're saying about that 200-mile away thing, for so many years, we've been reading research about the importance of getting early to conservative
Yeah.
care. Where you start is where you end up. The co-funded APTA paper that just came out a couple weeks ago showing, what was it, Chiro PT and acupuncture. If you start there, short and
Yep.
long-term opioids are down. But you got to
Yep.
be able to start there. You got to be able to
Yeah.
access
Right.
that person. And I mean,
Yeah.
I think this is going to be a huge gateway into us being able to act on a lot of that research.
Yeah. That was something that when I was doing advocacy for PT the last few months in DC, it was nice because we were just basically doing tele advocacy. Literally, I was
Yeah.
sitting right here, and the APTA's congressional liaison was in DC. talking and just had a computer out, and I would talk to those representatives. And the thing that they didn't know about was that piece of research. And so even throwing that out and saying, look, 89.4% decrease in opioid use if you see PT first, and this is a 32,000 person study. And they were like, oh, deer in headlights, saucer eyes, you know? They're like, oh, I was like, we got to get in there. So
Totally.
that sort of research opens the door, man.
Absolutely. Well, Rob, we've talked a bit about what telehealth is, the opportunities out there, sort of the lack of barriers, really more than anything. Can you speak a bit about the actual course, how you're going to set this up, how we're going to educate these physios and get them ready to launch this side of their practice?
Yeah. The number one thing is everybody that hears this, probably there's going to be, 20, 30% that are like, oh, but I have to put my hands on them. Okay. Yes, I get that. But what do you have to do before you put your hands on them? You got to use this thing right here.
Yeah.
Right. If you didn't, then you should have gone to massage therapy school, and that's all you should be. You got to use this. And so that's the only step that's missing. And it's fun because we're going to show the creative side of this. We're going to show how the technology is not that hard to set up and how you can make it the highest quality experience for your patients. And then you just have a few things in place, like the patients need 2 or 3 things done beforehand. It's really easy to set up. We're going to guide everybody through the setup process to make the whole system as touchless as possible. Because using technology is great unless you hit a barrier which makes it a manual process. So that's one thing that I've worked my whole career on, is to streamline everything. So it's the setup with patient engagement. It's the setup with knowing your laws and your rules and your regulations. It's the setup with having the right type of material and the actual setup of a camera and a microphone. And if you run out of a microphone, then you can just use this. This is the easiest thing in the world. Plug it in, right? And then we're also going to look at treatment examples. We're going to do probably some sort of spine case, and we're going to do an extremity case so people can actually see me treating a patient. And that's what I do all the time anyway, is basically I'm treating PTs for free. So I've just been pushing telehealth into our space for the last year now, man. So any PT that has an issue, I'm like, all right, you're a test case. Come here, let me see you.
Yeah.
So they'll let me record it and just put it up to the other PTs that need that info. So we're going to go through all that, and it's going to wrap up nicely because we're going to have that whole package together with a huge final week's worth of marketing. And that's the big piece that everybody's like, oh, but what about? And I'm like, I got it. I've done this forever. Like, I know what I'm doing. This is me failing so many times that there's no way to do 58,000 things and the 58,000 first is going to succeed. Don't try the 58,000 things. Just listen to me. And I'm going to tell you the one thing that's going to work the most efficient way possible. So I'm looking forward to it, man. It's just everything kind of wrapped up in my brain that I can finally spill out to everybody else.
Well, dude, this will be great. I mean, like I said, I think there's a confluence of forces right now with the way that social media has allowed us to access national brands, to the PT Compact really coming live, to people being pretty native to technology, almost regardless of age group at some level, and all of those things finally hitting, while the research says the earlier you get access to this message, the better the long-term outcome and the decrease in cost. I've never seen things come together at quite that level and that kind of timing.
Yeah, man. When you're in it 15 years and like 13 years in, you're starting to kind of see an increase, and you're like, oh, it's gonna happen. Yes. And it's finally happening. So I'm pumped, man. I can't wait to get started.
Well, cool, man. Well, I mean, for everybody, the course is now live at ptonice.com. It's going to be the end of October because we know the first cohort's going to fill right away. So we'll go ahead and launch one, sneak it in before the holidays, and then we'll fire some stuff up early next year. And Rob, we'll just educate every damn physio that we can in this space.
Yeah, man. Absolutely, buddy. That's the key. I appreciate it, Jeff.
Rob, thanks for bringing your expertise, man. I mean, I'll never forget meeting you the very first time and talking about this. And I walked away thinking, dude, that guy is on a mission. Like, he doesn't care where it goes. He just knows he needs to give it everything he's got. I've never been so impressed. So glad a couple years later to be at a point where we can put this together, get it under the ICE umbrella, and really change the profession.
Absolutely. That's the goal, man. Change this profession for the better.
Cheers, buddy. Well, ptonice.com, everybody. Have an awesome night. Rob, thank you so much. We'll be seeing a lot of you soon.
All right. Thanks, man. Take care.
Later, man.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to the PT on Ice Daily Show. If you enjoyed this content, head on over to iTunes and leave us a review. And be sure to check us out on Facebook and Instagram at the Institute of Clinical Excellence. If you're interested in getting plugged into more ICE content on a weekly basis while earning CEUs from home, check out our virtual ICE online mentorship program at ptonice.com. While you're there, sign up for our Hump Day Hustling newsletter for a free email every Wednesday morning with our top 5 research articles and social media posts that we think are worth reading. Head over to ptonice.com and scroll to the bottom of the page to sign up.